We were chatting earlier about what goes on here today versus, say, 10 or 15 years ago, when it felt like it was companies like yours who were trying to get the cable operators to pay attention to you. They very much pay attention to you now. You could argue that a company like yours is in the driver's seat, is in a better position to at least continue to tell a story of growth, as opposed to the cable operators who are focused more on, well, what does this new technology mean for a business? How do we have to change our business? How would you describe what goes on here today?
Well, for content providers like Scripps, this is, in my opinion, kind of the golden age of cable television, because to your point, as technology continues to advance and offers us all these different platforms on which to show our content, because we own about 95% of all the content that we air, we're able to move across platform fairly easily. So, for example, you may have someone watching the Food Network in their kitchen at the same time using a digital box to download information, maybe a mobile device to get a recipe. So we see these as opportunities as technology continues to evolve and move forward. I think, we've heard forever content is king. I don't know if it's king, but it's certainly a prince right now, and we're in a great position.
So you're making sure that your properties are integrating new media, that there's a connection to Twitter through these shows. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. We're called Scripps Networks Interactive for a reason, because almost from the get-go, we've looked at these as more than cable channels. These are actually category enhancers. So the video on screen plays very well to our digital websites, where you can download recipes, you can download how-to ideas or design ideas. You can take them onto mobile devices. So as the industry continues to expand and offer us more platforms, if you will, for our content, we're already there, and quite frankly, we're excited about the future.
Meanwhile, the traditional advertising part of your business seems to be doing pretty well. I mean, from the takeaways from the upfront season, would you agree with that?
Well, the advertising market is really robust right now, not just for us, but I think for the industry in general. But cable has been taking more and more of its share from broadcast, and we see this as another great upfront for continuing to decrease that margin, if you will, between broadcast and cable. For us, because we have a lot of endemic advertising because of our categories, we're able to layer in a very good base, and then when you have a strong upfront market like we're entering now, really layer on and increase and maybe get an unfair percentage, if you will, of increase for networks like ours. So, we're very excited about the upfront and what it's going to hold.
I wanted to talk about some of your specific brands. I think a lot of people were impressed by the ability of HGTV to hold on to its audience during the economic downturn. As people weren't buying homes, they were still watching HGTV. Now there are questions about the economy again, whether housing is going to take another dip. But what is it about your programming that has kept people watching?
I think our programming really is about hearth and home. I mean, when you look at the categories, the shelter category, the food category, travel is a new channel that, we're just getting up and running after about a year acquisition now. It really hits people both in their heart and their wallet. So when the housing boom started turning into a bust, we immediately started, altering our programming to reflect more of the reality of what was going on in the marketplace. And I think that immediately told the consumers, we're with you, we understand, things have changed, but guess what? Your home is still where your largest investment is, and here are some ways to weather the storm, if you will, and do some things that make a lot of sense. Conversely, the Food Network has just really taken off because comfort food has become comfort programming, if you will. So I think there's a lot of comfort in our brands. People turn to them, they trust them. There's a lot of utility, so there's information they can take away. So the past couple of years, when we have seen somewhat of a downturn in both the housing market and the economy, we've actually done better than most cable networks because of that.
Can you expand on that comfort food theme? I mean, what are some of the things that Food Network does as an example to address that issue?
Well, when Food Network first came under our ownership back in the late 90s, it really was a network about how to boil water, if you will, was actually one of the shows. And the programming team and the management team at Food has done such a good job to actually tap into the American psyche and pop culture, whereas now food is considered more than just the preparation of food, which actually now has allowed us to launch another channel, a cooking channel, which just expands, if you will, our whole food category. But it really is a pop phenomenon now, so we've moved beyond that to almost entertaining, where a lot of our shows are not just about food and preparation, but about the personalities behind it. And a show like Next Food Network Star even rewards the abilities of individuals to really take food to the next level, if you will.
I'd love to talk a little bit more about the personalities. Indulge me, if you will. I wanted to do a little name association. What comes to mind when I say some of these names? When I say Rachel Ray, what do you say?
Oh, superstar, across all platforms. She is a young woman who came to us early, just had a little radio show. The camera loved her. People love her. And now she's, not only on the Food Network, syndicated show, which we're partners with. Her website is ubiquitous, and she has a magazine, she has cookbooks. She's kind of the sweetheart of America when it comes to food. Paula Deen, oh my gosh, what a fun lady. She really does put fun into food, and I think has given people an opportunity to really explore and do things with food that maybe heretofore they would say, oh, I can't do that, I can't add those ingredients. And sometimes she'll put some ingredients in that even amaze us. But there's always a party with Paula. And whenever you're around her, you can't help but enjoy food even more. So she's the queen of food partying, if you will.
Okay, I'll throw out one more. Bobby Flay.
Bobby Flay, wow. Bobby I've seen grow up with the Food Network. He started out as just a young chef, very hot chef with a couple of his restaurants. But he's really grown and matured. And now he's not only one of the top stars, but he's an industry standard. I think a lot of people look to Bobby for his vision and where the restaurant industry is going and where the food industry is going as well. He's just a super talent, and we're so appreciative of having him on the air.
Well, and speaking of talent, your strong talent is being able to find this talent. When do you know that someone is TV gold?
What we found is the audience will tell us, but to get to that point, to actually put them in front of a camera, there is one characteristic that we found day in and day out, and that is the ability, if you will, to share information, to, if you will, become a teacher of sort. We look to people who enjoy socializing, enjoy sharing information, and it's interesting, a lot of our talent come from teaching backgrounds. And I think whether it's teaching in the kitchen, in the home category, teaching someone how to design, it's that ability to impart information in a sincere, sometimes fun, entertaining way. That's really a key, and that credibility is, I think, what makes our network so strong.
Very quickly, I want to talk about international. It's a market you're starting to move into more. What is your game plan?
Well, again, we own quite a bit of content in these categories, and we continue to crank out a lot of content. We don't have the international infrastructure that a lot of companies do and have built over a number of years. We've only been around since the late 90s, and cable network age, that's fairly young still. So what we're looking to do is through partnerships and also through associations, take our content offshore. And I'll give you an example. We've had such success with Food UK. It's a partnership that has allowed us to rapidly expand and get the Food Network started in the UK, and it's just taken off. It's really done wonders, especially against the BBC's Good Eats channel. So we see that happening in multiple markets, and right now we're just out with our team looking at opportunities in various countries and looking at partnerships.
So it's more about partnerships as opposed to going out and buying something?
It really is. First off, there's very few things that can be bought internationally. Again, a lot of the players in the business have already been ahead of us. They've put in a good infrastructure, put in a good team. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We just think we have a lot of great content that can enhance some channels or maybe even start some new channels internationally. So that's how we're going to be looking at the future.
when you speak to analysts and you ask the question, do you think there's going to be a big media deal? And they hum and they haw, and they don't know. And we haven't seen a lot of big deals, but when you ask the question, well, what might one of the biggest players want to buy? Your name does come up from time to time, and maybe hypothetically, if a bigger media company bought Scripps, it would solve that issue, that international issue, if they already have a bigger footprint. How do you feel about that idea, about somebody coming and gobbling you guys up?
Well, I say we're always flattered that people look at us as a possible good acquisition. And I also remind them that we're not for sale. There's not a for sale sign in the front yard. And we're doing quite well. We like the fact that we're agile. We've been able to create content on a very economical basis that still has high quality, high utility value. So we're going to do what we've always done, just continue to expand in these categories as the digital revolution continues, and run a good business. We're known as good operators. We have good profit margins. We're able to take good cash flow to the bottom line. So I can see why people might suggest that we're a good acquisition target, but at this time we enjoy our independence.
Just two last questions. I want to come back to this whole changing landscape theme and Netflix. You said you control about 95% of your content. Is Netflix a good thing for Scripps?
Well, I think Netflix, Hulu Plus, you go down the list, they're all opportunities for us. But first and foremost is our partnership with our distribution partners. And it's a great model. It's worked for years. I think you will continue to see the Netflix and the Hulus have library content and sometimes dated content and utility content that consumers can go and pull and use. But as far as first run, live quality, that's going to continue to appear on our networks first. And we'll look at windowing opportunities, and we'll look at those opportunities, and that's what they are, opportunities with partnerships that, quite frankly, just enhance our value.
Later this week, Oprah's going to be here, obviously telling the story of her new venture. Could you see some of your celebrities, some of your big brands following in down that road? Some channels that are specifically tailored to one name?
I think channels that are tailored to one name are going to be few and far between. I mean, how many Oprahs in the world are there, right? I'm very proud of all the personalities on our networks, but I think one of the things that makes our network so successful is that melting pot, if you will, of a lot of personalities, a lot of diversity. So you can come to us for different points of view, both from a diversity standpoint, from a programming standpoint. So, you know, we'd be delighted if we had a breakout star of that ilk, and we could someday. But right now, I think we're pretty comfortable with having food, home and garden, and travel being destinations that viewers can come and find a plethora of stars and talent, if you will.
Ken, thanks for your time.